I saw a show here a couple weeks ago, and I just love the space, and I love the fact that we're on the west side, and the work that I was working on at that point was about the east side and the west side. So I really wanted to bring individuals who might not be aware of the situation, like, into the community. Like, in order to see this, if you have this kind of macabre voyeurism and you want to see this, like, you have to come here and see it for yourself and feel the reality of it. You know, I mean, this isn't somewhere else. This is in your backyard, and so that's kind of what we went with. And so, you know, the space, you know, happens to have the brick walls that are kind of in disrepair, but they've been patched over, and then we were playing with that idea, and we're like, how are we going to hang these pieces? And we decided to, you know, go get some sheetrock, and we're going to beat it up and give people the feeling of what it's like to be in these homes in New Orleans or the homes in Buffalo. And we left the debris on the floor, and, you know, so we kind of hammed it up a little bit, but you know, I think it gives people you know, kind of a more intimate sense with the work. You know, and one of the other questions I field is like, well, it's a gallery opening. People usually do like 11 by 14 or larger, you know, and I framed everything in 8 by 10s because I wanted people to feel like that little awkwardness, like having to get closer to the imagery and to kind of like physically move towards it to make it a more of an experience than just voyeurism, you know. Bring the reality. I try and act as a photojournalist. Like all the images there, I mean, they were composed, and I shot the worst things in the best way possible, but none of it was staged, other than I moved the camera or, you know, dealt with lighting situations and stuff like that. You know, and I think that's kind of the scary part, is that it's all real, and, you know, along with the smaller format, you know, I didn't do an artist statement about the piece. It was little blurbs about the individual images and the experiences at the time, or some errata about things that are going on in them that you might not be aware of if you weren't there. So it was trying to build knowledge, you know, as people work their way through the exhibit. When we first got to New Orleans, and you're dumbstruck by it, because it looks like the city was carpet bombed. You know, there's cars, or the remains of cars all over the road, and the buses weaving around, you know, to get us to the campsite, and there's walls missing from houses and holes in roofs, and I mean, it was very visually intimidating. And the scary part is, after we had been there a week, it was normal. And I think that's one of the correlations in the series, was that, you know, the decrepit neighborhoods on the east and west side become normal, not only to the residents, but, you know, people that I talk to who don't have a reason to go to those neighborhoods, just avoid them in general. You know, and that's the normal thing to do. Oh, we just stay on Delaware, Elmwood, Hurdle, you know. But I mean, this is our city, and as a community, it's important that we work together to, you know, to try and rebuild and try and make Buffalo the best place we can. And I see a lot of great things going on. So, you know, some of the criticism that we've received about the show, or I've received about the show, is, you know, well, you're showing it in a bad light. But I don't think that's accurate. I think I'm showing it in a realistic light. I think by bringing that stark contrast into the equation, seeing New Orleans right next to Buffalo, and looking and not really knowing, like, when you've exited the New Orleans side of the show and entered the Buffalo side, you know, I think it achieves its goal. I've been involved in the activist community in Buffalo since I was a student at the university, which is kind of strange because it's so disconnected being up in Amherst, but, you know, because of those ties, I knew of some of the people and individuals that are getting things done, you know, on the ground here. And so when the concept for the show occurred to me, you know, I didn't want it to just be like let's look and gawk, and, you know, I'm about action. I'm about communities banding together to improve themselves. And so I said, you know, if we're going to do an opening, we have to get, you know, push here. People United for Sustainable Housing is a West Side organization that works very hard to improve their neighborhoods and get things done. You know, Buffalo Reuse goes in and salvages materials out of houses and resells them, you know, at a fair price. So people who want to reconstruct their homes have the opportunity, even if they're financially limited. And Buffalo First is, you know, a great organization because it's about building the local economy. And, you know, I think that's one of the things that I'm seeing a big turnaround in Buffalo is that people really do support local businesses because they're local businesses. I think the realization has been made that, you know, all right, it might cost me a, you know, percentage more, but it's worth it because it's my neighbors. You know, as much as you'd support your own family, you realize if we can keep our money here and spend it amongst ourselves and give each other a livelihood, we'll make it through, you know, this kind of financial disaster. So I think it was really important to have them here, and I'm glad that they were able to show up.